We're going 3, 2, and we're live. The Ray Powers Hour here on YouTube and New Visions Radio and all over the world. I am here with a returning guest. She's been on a bunch of times, but this is the first time we're doing it this way, face to face. I mean, we were in the Power Code, but face to face like this. She's from the 412 City of Champions. She had a #1 single as a teenager in indie Nashville, 19 years old. Since then, she's gone on to record more music, tons of miles on the road. She's got her own podcast called Where in the World is Megan's New Music? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Megan effing Pennington. What's going on?
Hey, not too much. Thank you so much for having me back on the show. It's an honor to be here.
It's always a privilege to have you. The face-to-face is great when you're here in the Power Cove, but this is something we're trying, over the past few weeks, and people seem to like this a little better. There's more light in here now, and you came at a good time. So,
yeah, for sure. This is cool. I'm on the road right now taking care of a few things, so I'm able to still call in and see you face to face, and I really like the personal feeling and the new touch to this. So cool. Good job. Whoever thought of this was doing a good job there.
It was my agent. I've got to give her props on this. She really, really, drove it to the next level. She's like, you got to do this. Join the 21st century, Powers. Come on. I know you're busy, but so is everybody else. Suck it up. And so now we got the video and the audio. And I appreciate you taking your time out to do this because I know, like I said, you're on the road constantly. You're a new mom. And I don't know how you do it all. I mean, it's amazing. How do you do it?
It takes a lot of determination, a lot of meditation and relaxation. I don't know, when I was 19 and I met you, I said that I wanted to be a star. I wanted to be a musician. So keep putting myself out there, and I just keep, pushing myself to the limit. And all good things come to those who put a little bit of work into it, right? We manifest our own destiny. So Just keep manifesting positive feelings, and then that brings me the things I need.
Absolutely. So to take it back, I mean, a lot of people know you from, of course, all the tour dates you do, and I mean, you've made a name for yourself in Pittsburgh. You've been on this show before. Of course, we have our history because we've done 8. This year is going to be the 8th Rock Out to Knock Out Cancer in Pittsburgh. And I met you, of course, back in 2014 when we were on the 3rd one. And I needed a backup singer, one of 3. That was something completely special. And to make it, well, you tell the story. I mean, you're the guest.
Well, we met back in, oh God, I always screw this up when I get interviewed. I always tell people it was 2019, and that's not true. I was 19 in 2014. So when we met, it was the annual Rock Out to Knock Out Cancer benefit show that they held in Pittsburgh. I found them on Craigslist. I was looking for work. I had actually just quit my job and broke up with my boyfriend at the time. So I was like, man, I'm going to find myself a coffee shop gig. I'm going to become a famous singer and leave this town. I hate these people. And I ended up finding you guys and even a backup singer, and one thing led to another. We ended up becoming friends, and we recorded free not that long after. So it's been history ever since.
Yeah, I remember the day that I took your song to Mike Cullens of Mad Hands Records. I've been my God, it's been, I guess, 8 years or longer since I've been lead producer, and I was always getting first call as the session guy, and I'm like, I got the new girl. I have some youth. And he says, how young? And I told him how young, and he's like, you said teen. You said 19, right? I said, yeah. I said, okay, she could sign her own contract. You had written Free. It was a brand new song, and very, very little done to it as far as arrangement. I mean, it didn't need much. Just a little polish here and there. You knocked it out quick. That was your first time actually in a professional studio, wasn't it?
Yeah. Walking into Mad Hands Records was the first time I'd ever seen a real music studio in person. Before that, it was always just in TV and movies.
All right. And since then, you've, of course, in college majored in music, so you got a lot more exposure. But at that point, it was old hat, because you're like, yeah, I've done this. I've already cut a record.
Yeah.
All the freshmen.
Yeah, I was able to show, a few things to the people in class. And then now I have my own home studio, so I'm able to take everything that I've got to see in the past and implement it in my own territory.
Yeah, talk about Scarfire Records. Congratulations first and foremost.
Thank you. Yeah, so a couple months ago, I said to myself, I'm in the middle of this pandemic, and I got a lot of music that I need to write, and I know there's a lot of people in the same boat as me. So I decided to go, and I bought some equipment, and I started recording, and now I'm I'm working with my own independent label, Scarfire Records, and I'm giving folks who were like me when I was 19 an opportunity to come in and get a track down, because in today's world, all you really need is that track and a good video to put out. You can get social media palm in your hand. So if I can give somebody that track that they can use for their TikToks or for, you know, an Instagram post, whatever they want, then to me, I feel like I'm doing that paying of it forward to the folks that helped me along with.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's only been 7, 8 years, but you know, the dynamic has changed a little bit. I mean, you came at a good time in 2014 when we had digital platforms like Spotify and YouTube and iTunes and things like that. But shopping it to radio and shopping it to, you know, bigger and better platforms, you know, it worked out. I mean, I used whatever ins I had and, you know, got you into the Nashville circuit that I was part of. And first one went to number one. I mean, that had to be a lot of pressure. I mean, it had to be the greatest feeling in the world. But can you really appreciate it at 19? Did you know what you had?
Honestly, I look back at myself at 19 and I say to myself, if I would have, you know, told myself then that any of what happened would have happened, would be happening, I wouldn't believe it. You know, it felt great to be able to have the song out, to finally say to people, hey, I'm a singer. I've been saying I want to do this since I was a kid. You know, this is great. But it really didn't hit me that I was doing the thing until I at least graduated college at 21. And that was when I really was on my own, doing my thing. I wasn't in a schedule anymore. I wasn't reporting to anybody anymore. It came down to me and what I wanted to do. So, you know, it finally kind of, and that was 3 songs later, you know, after going into the studio and working. So, you know, it took a lot of putting that time in and actually, you know, living the reality of being that touring musician to finally kind of knock it into my head that, hey, this is real life and this is what we're doing. Enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a 3-song deal. I remember that. You knocked out 3 songs in, I don't know, maybe 18 months, whatever it was. And then I'm like, what's Megan going to do now? And you're in Chicago one day and you're in Nashville the next day. And I was telling Mike, I'm like, we're laughing, but I mean, we're marveling at, you know, just the energy. And it's like, remember we were 20 years old and we could just go someplace and just, well, that's it, we're going. We're going to pick up stakes, we're going. And he's like, yeah, he had gone on benders where he said he went cross country, didn't tell anybody, called from California. I'm like, man, to be 21 and just have that kind of freedom. It's got to be a little scary, but it's also got to be the best feeling in the world.
I will be honest, when I went to Chicago, I wasn't alone. I was dating somebody at the time. And it was funny. We were driving around one day and I had said to him, you know, I want to go to Chicago someday and check out the blues scene. It'd be really cool to see what I can find. And his exact words were to me that day, why don't we just go tonight? So I took the last $150 in my bank account. We drove back to Pittsburgh, grabbed a few things from my house, and we were off to Chicago. And I was living in my car for about 7 months. And honestly, you know, it was at that point in time, I was like, yeah, this being on the road thing is what's up. That's what I want to do. Yeah, I have my son now. But honestly, I have all these gigs now coming up, you know, within quite a few different states. And I'm so thankful for babysitting. But, you know, once he gets a little bit older, I do plan on taking him on the road too. Looking at school buses nowadays, so you can find for those temporary summer vacations, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, Ryder's going to be, he's 1.5 years, right? 2, I guess, in October or November?
He will be 2 in October on Devil's Night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emma was like that too. I took her on the road a lot when she was, I mean, from the time she was an infant. I mean, that's what, you know, I was doing. I mean, I had a lot of tour dates. And, you know, I figured, hey, I want to be with her. And the worst thing in the world is being away 6 months out of the year and 9 months out of the year. I have friends who've done that, and you can't get that time back.
I have a hard time with a couple days with him, you know, because he starts to get lonely. I start missing him. It's definitely difficult.
You get the picture from, you know, grandma or the babysitter. You're like, oh my God, I want to go home. You're having the time of your life till you see that picture. You're like, oh my God, what am I doing?
Exactly.
Yeah. But, my God, he's going to probably follow in your footsteps. You might have a drummer in the band and...
I tell you what, so far, he's a big fan of reggae music. He likes punk music, especially the Ramones. That takes him right. And he likes to dance, and he's doing a lot of clapping. So I feel like percussion may be in his
Is he
future
clapping?
here soon.
Is he clapping on the 2 on the right beat?
He is,
All right,
surprisingly enough, at 19 months old, he can keep a beat.
All right, little white boy clapping on the 2 or on a good thing.
Exactly. Excellent. Who said it couldn't be done?
Take that. So, you come back from Chicago, and I guess what happens between that and Scarfire Records? Because, we talked a lot, but I know there was a bunch of, months out of the year where, it's like, oh, Megan's off doing her thing. And I knew you were fine, but, Uncle Ray is always concerned,
I understand. Well, when I was in Chicago and I was there with the person I originally migrated there with, the relationship had ended and I met somebody else. Within that time, I found out that I was pregnant, and I came back to Pittsburgh for a little while. I had my son, and I got a job at a company that I can't stand. And I still have this job, and I can't stand it. They suck. But I got myself a job. I ended up getting myself a house, and I got myself a better car. So, on the outside, I kind of look like the normal everyday mom, but I do still find time to do the radio show and the touring and everything else. So after I got back and had my son, we kind of got hit with the pandemic, and I hung out. That's when Starfire kind of became a thing. So, and now at this point, we're kind of coming back to life with the rest of the world, and playing as many cities as I can along the way.
I guess it had to be a blessing in disguise to get a year at home with your son and really get to bond.
Yeah, it really was. Because, as much as I wanted to be out there and playing, I had to keep telling myself, there's nothing open anyway. Nobody's wanting to do anything anyway. We're trying to keep ourselves safe. So it really did. And then I was pushed to work from home at my job since I worked an office type desk job. So I had the ability to spend all day, every day with him. So even though I was still, running around trying to do the dishes and take care of the baby and answer these emails and do this, that, and the other, it was still nice to be able to be home and have that bonding connection with him during these core times where, as a single mom, I wouldn't have been able to do that any way.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're going to look back in 10, 20 years, and I don't think Ryder, obviously, is not going to remember this. And he's like, wow, everything just came to a halt. You guys were home, but what were you doing? Because who knows what we'll be doing in 20 years.
Yeah.
I think about that sometimes, the kids who were born, when everybody was kind of just working from home and stuff. And, you'll look back and, when I was born, I try to, it's weird in a way. You weren't there. I mean, you were there, but you just had no, you were just kind of being a baby, and you were just hanging out.
Yeah. I always think about it, Ryder hasn't really met too many kids because of the pandemic. And he's at that age now where he should start being able to socialize with children. And I feel really bad having to keep him away. But I think about that a lot. What's that going to do later down the road? Because we weren't able to, socialize our kids. We weren't able to do these things with our kids. And how are they going to be affected in the long run by these things?
Yeah, and we're social creatures just by biological makeup. I mean, we look for other people. I mean, some of us are hermits.
Absolutely.
Some people are better off as hermits. But, by and large, we recharge with people, and we want to be around other people.
Absolutely.
I think that's why solitary confinement is such a punishment, because, you're depriving people of that companionship.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, I came back to Pittsburgh recently. I mentioned on your podcast that, I've got a new single in the works, so I got to come back into town and, get back into the studio. That was nice. And, it looks like things are shaping up again. The Pirates had games. I don't know if anybody in Pittsburgh cares, but...
I'm actually going to a game here this week, so I'll let you know how it goes, yeah.
All right, cool. I love PNC Park. I mean, that was one of my favorite ballparks. That and in Baltimore, Camden Yards. I mean, they're just gorgeous. And every time I go to the North Side or the North Shore, it's like there's a new building there. They just...
Right.
That strip has just become enormous.
Mm-hmm. They're really trying to build up everywhere. everywhere around the surrounding parts of the North Shore and the downtown area to make it more welcoming for everybody.
Yeah, our tilted kilt is gone though. That's where
I know.
I was joking with Dan DeMoise, who of course founded Rock Out to Knock Out Cancer, and I'm like, we are the kiss of death. Don't book us at your venue because you'll be shut in a year.
Does that mean they're going to tear down Shenley Plaza this year? I hope not. That's been there for a long time.
The Hard Rock's the only one that seems to have survived. But we left that, I think. We didn't get kicked out of that event.
The Hard Rock is like a cockroach, though. We'll never be able to get rid of that one.
Exactly. Yeah, we did the first two at the Hard Rock with Dan DeMoise, and moved to a tilted kilt, went to Latitude, which no longer exists, or it's something else now. Went to another tilted kilt for a couple of years, and
that one's a Chick-fil-A now.
It's a Chick-fil-A. We should go play the Chick-fil-A. That's what we should do.
I'm so down.
Chicken sandwiches and milkshakes, count me in. And
heck yeah.
The last couple of years, we were on the south side of Club Cafe. Great room. More suited to comedy, but I mean, small ensembles, it works out. And this year's Shenley Plaza, that is on the Pittsburgh University campus, right?
Correct. So if for those of you who know the Oakland campus at all, it's right off the main drag on the right-hand side. It's where the carousel sits. So it is right there in smack dab middle of University of Pitt. You can see the Cathedral of Learning. You can see it from the park.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, this year is the 10th annual Rock Out to Knock Out Cancer. And we've done this, like I said, Dan DeMoise put this together. It's grown every year, and now it's bigger than ever. I mean, we had to do something special for number 10, especially since last year was all online. This year it's going to be virtual and in person. Big tent, so it's rain or shine. I'm expecting hundreds and hundreds of people. And the roster, I mean, I looked at the roster. You got this starting off at 9 a.m. I mean, people are going to wake up at 7 a.m. for sound check, or 5 a.m., or don't go to sleep.
Go big or go home. It's the 10th year. I got 15 people. We only got one day. And when I put out the word, I was expecting, maybe 7 or 8 bands. And I said, hey, who wants to come play this cancer band? But I had my DMs for days. I had to cut people off and be like, listen, here's the virtual stage. So we've got everything from acoustic solo artists to acoustic trios like my band Moonshine Jasmine. We've got some rap artists. We've got everything across the board, from Nashville to New York to Pennsylvania. It's gonna be a great time. Got a whole lot of great things coming, and we also have vendors and carnival games. And I think I have somebody who is gonna do some face painting too. So it's gonna be a good time.
Oh, wow. August 14th of this year, 2021. It's a Saturday, and it's a ticketed event, but you also have an online link if people can't make it. If they're in Australia, it's a good excuse not to come. It would be an expensive commute. We have the Facebook link up, right?
Yes. If you go on Facebook and look up Rock Out to Knock Out Cancer 2021, you'll be able to find our Facebook page, and then you'll be able to find our donation link that Sonia was ever so kind to bring up and create for us.
Yeah. So that's huge. The fact that we have the backing of the American Cancer Society. That's where all the money goes. The Allegheny chapter, or the Western Pennsylvania, whatever. It changed names, I know, over the years. So I just always say the Greater Pittsburgh area.
Yeah, I don't know what they call it now. I have to double check there.
But that says it all. I mean, the fact that, the ACS recognizes Dan and, all of his contributions, because he works on this all the time. It's not something you could do in one day, just throw it together. I mean, weeks and months of planning. Everybody's volunteering, so, it's just, you got to work around people's schedules, and you really can't yell at somebody if they don't come through because you're not paying them. So, it's a very, very selfless thing, and we've all lost people to cancer, so we can all relate. And it's a really, really moving thing when you see all these people pitching in for something that's, so universal and so, so fulfilling to be able to raise money and awareness.
Absolutely. Cancer sucks, and we got to work together and kick its butt.
Yeah. Plus, you get all this great music all day long, and Man, I really hope the face painting station's there. Maybe I'll do something with my face.
We'll get you all set up there, right?
Emma once painted a mohawk strip on my head, and we went to town. We did a video on that. Yeah.
Do that like the arrow, like the last Airbender.
Like Ernie Holmes of the Steelers in the '70s. We could do that.
That works too.
He did that because he said that's where I wanted my opponents to know they were going down.
There's so much room for activity.
He was special. He was a head case, that guy. Most of the Steelers were back then. That's why they were so great.
Yeah, right?
The stuff they did back then, you couldn't get away with any of it today.
Mm-mm.
Different time.
There's a reason why they called it the Steel Curtain.
Exactly. Well, I mean, I never got to go to a game at Three Rivers, but it had to be really cool.
I didn't go to a game, but I did get to see it when they knocked it down. So.
Yeah, that was a big thing. That was emotional. I saw grown men crying when that building came down. But my ties to Pittsburgh. People always ask me, why Pittsburgh? And it's like, well, I'm a Steeler fan. I just jumped on early. I was smart. I chose wisely, and the community has embraced me. So I'm happy to give back and do rock out and all these other things. Film my videos in Pittsburgh. Mix the songs in Pittsburgh. It's a great city.
Well, we love you.
Well, thank you. Couldn't have met Megan Pennington without that rapport. But tell us about Jasmine. What's going on with this trio? I love Jasmine Moonshine. I love the name. I love the concept. Ty is insane. I love him.
Moonshine Jasmine. Well, we joke and we call ourselves the ultimate indie supergroup. There was myself and Ty Cannon, who have been working together with a couple different groups over the last few years. And then we paired up with Dan Stonebrook. He is a solo singer-songwriter from the Johnstown, Pittsburgh area. And so we're kind of doing this like bluesy, acoustic, funky, I don't really know what to call it yet, type feely. But, we've got mandolin and guitar and bass, no drums. It's a strictly string acoustic trio. But, we've been touring all across the eastern half of the United States, hoping to continue on west. So if you know anybody looking for shows further west, let me know. Have car, will travel. But yeah, we've got a Facebook page. We've got a couple tracks on YouTube. We've been recording some covers. And we're also coming out with an album called Before Moonshine Jasmine to kind of feature some of my stuff and some of Dan's stuff. And then we're also going to, together as a group, come up with a short album together. No times on that just yet. We just started working together about maybe 2 months ago. So, stay tuned for more. Pay attention to our Facebook page if you want to keep track of where our bus is headed.
I love it. I mean, the fact that you're that mobile and you could just pick up, again, drop stakes, stay the night, or not, just move on to the next city. It's the coolest thing that bands are still touring and doing it that style, almost guerrilla style. Just, go in, no rules, and you do your thing.
Exactly. A lot of trucking music and a lot of good memories to be had on those highways, but it's been fun so far.
Yeah. That's what's changed a lot is the fact that, when I was growing up and I was 19, 20 years old, 25 years old, you relied on label support in order to tour, or you couldn't go out. I mean, even if it was clubs, it could be bars. You needed a label, to finance tours. The fact that you're a trio and you're a little more, scaled down, it helps. You don't need a humongous PA. You don't need a 40-piece drum kit. But still in all, I mean, the whole industry from even 10 years ago seems like it's night and day in a lot of ways.
Yeah, 10 years ago when I started, really getting into this, everywhere I would go, do you have your own sound? Do you have your own sound? What do you have equipment-wise? Nowadays, I can't tell you how many plug-and-play gigs I get, and it is a godsend not having to lug that PA. All I got to bring is my guitar and a 1/4-inch cable, and I have gravy. Like, it's definitely changed a lot. People are definitely starting to realize that, hey, there's a lot of really great music to be had that's not being paid attention to by these big name labels. So, we really need to help each other out. Maybe, maybe somebody will get, small town famous. Who knows?
Exactly. Well, I did prepare a couple of questions for you. One of the cool things that we added to the show is the ability to get email in advance, and I got a couple of people who wanted to put you on the hot seat. Would you like to play?
Sure.
Would you like to play a game?
Sure. I'm always down to play a game.
All right, let's see. We have to make sure these are printable to read on the air here. We are talking
if
about...
If they're questions for me, I can't imagine they're good.
We're talking about Ray and Megan here. We're Megan and Ray. It's a 50-50 on that. Let's see. I've got Sandra out of Georgia. Doesn't say where in Georgia. But Sandra wanted to know, if you could tour with any one act, I know the answer to this, who would it be?
Oh, man. Me, personally, it would be Dead & Company. I would tour with Dead & Company because aside from being a mega super fan of the Grateful Dead, Bob Weir has been playing music since he was, 14 years old? And, I mean, he's in the 70s now, so just the knowledge that I'd be able to gain from being around him and being able to speak to him, that in and of itself leads me to want to tour with the Dead & Company, for sure.
And, of course, if the Dead were still around, it would be the Grateful Dead.
Of course.
That was a living and dead scenario, but yeah, no pun intended. Or maybe a little bit intended. All right.
Gratefully Dead.
Of course. Let's see. Rachel in Holmdel, New Jersey. That's just down the road from me. About an hour. That's where the Garden State Arts Center is.
Ooh, cool.
Rachel wants to know, how has your music career changed since becoming a mom? And this goes on. There's a big paragraph here, but let's go with that. How has your music career changed since becoming a mom?
Well, it's definitely not easy to just pick up and live in my car for a few months. I have a baby I can take care of, Every show I do, I have to make sure I got a babysitter. I have to maintain a job that at least can pay the bills,
sure.
To make sure I have the baby taken care of. I know that if I needed to take my son to my mom's for an extended period of time, that I could. But at this point in my life, I'm able to balance my shows and my recording and everything, that I don't need to do that. But I will say that since I've become a mom, most of my time, if not all of my time related to music, is at night. And I've had to figure out ways to compensate sleep. So ever since I've become a mom, naps have been my friend. So power naps have been the biggest change, I guess.
Yeah. Let's see. I think we have time for one more here. Paula in Philadelphia wants to know.
Ooh.
These people, I think, know you because these questions, I mean, they just tap right into your Megan-ness, I'll call it.
My Megan-ness, I love that.
Paula in Philadelphia said, if you could transport yourself back to any decade, what decade would you choose?
It may come to a surprise, but I'm stuck between the 50s and the 60s. Yeah, 50s and 60s, because I find a certain magic about, the counterculture and, the revolution of the human being and free love and everything. That's what I live and breathe now. But at the same time, there's just something classy about Elvis Presley and the way he carried himself around, and those good old boys who were, making that good country music. So I don't know. I feel like I'd probably want to hang out in 1959 to 1962, and then make a stop in 69 somewhere.
Yeah, that's when it all changed. I mean, because Elvis was as counterculture as they came. He was a punk rocker back then. He was the shock rocker. Parents were appalled and aghast that he was wiggling his hips. And what are you doing? It's a Sunday. You can't be doing that. You can't show that on TV. They had to show him from the waist up on Sullivan. Imagine. Mm-hmm. And now we have WAP on prime time at the Grammys. It's changed a little bit, I would think.
Just a little bit.
I would pick the same decade, 55 to 65. I mean, it covers everything. You got Elvis and the Beatles. And I always say the Beatles were great, but who did the Beatles emulate? Elvis and Little Richard, Chuck Berry. I mean, those were the Pilgrims. Those were the ones who, set foot on the moon first. And but you mentioned Buddy Holly. Right now, Michael Zuko just got a warm fuzzy somewhere. We mentioned Johnny Cash, and my brother Matt will get warm fuzzies. Yeah. Now, here's my question. Do you think you'll ever get off the planet or a stage without doing a a Johnny and June song with Matt?
You know, I feel like ever since I met you guys, it's like a rite of passage now. If I'm not in the same state as Matt Powers playing Jackson by Johnny and June, did I ever play that show?
The thing is, you kill it. You do it so well. I really haven't heard anyone do it the way you guys do. You've got the growl down. He's got the bass, and the fact that you guys love the music so much, it really, really comes through. You could tell when somebody's mailing it in, and when somebody's doing what they love. When Zuko's doing Buddy Holly, there's nothing like it. You know.
Mm-hmm. I will be honest. My band wanted to do some Johnny Cash songs, and I said, "Why don't we do Jackson? You know, it might be a good song." And then we started doing it, and they're playing it, and I'm like, "It don't feel right without Matt. I can't do it." So that's just our song forever and ever. I'm okay with that though.
Yeah. So what's next? You mentioned being on the road. What can you plug? What can you tell us about what's going on?
Well, the Flow 2021 tour is in full effect. I've got so many gigs coming up. Next weekend, I'm holding a home show at Scarfire Records. We're holding our hometown show where once a month we bring in some local artists to come to the backyard and hang out, have a bonfire. So that'll be Saturday, the 6th at 7 p.m. I'm bringing in one of Scarfire's artists, actually. His name is Kid Dreams. He's a young rapper from Pittsburgh, very talented. He'll be opening up tonight, and I got a couple other Pittsburgh favorites. Other than that, just if you want to check us out, I'm on Facebook with my own page. I've got Moonshine Jasmine on Facebook. Where in the World is Megan's Music is every Friday night on unrestrictedradio.com at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Unrestricted Radio is a station based out of Kalamazoo, Michigan. So make sure you check them out. They do also have an Android app if you want to check that out as well. You can give it a listen either on the website or the app. But yeah, just find me on Facebook if you want to catch me. Then let's hang out. I'll grab a cup of coffee along the way and we'll talk. I'll show you some music and tell you where I'm playing.
You know me. Buy me a cup of coffee. I'm in.
Amen.
I'm a cheap, easy date. Megan Pennington, everybody, check her out. You got the socials. You got the details. Scarfire Records. A shout out to Kalamazoo. It's close to Detroit Rock City. And of course, the City of Champions has birthed Megan Pennington, and we are in eternal debt.
Well, Ray, I am eternally in debt to have met you and to have been able to work alongside you for so long. Thank you once again for having me on the show.
Well, you're the best. I watched you, Bud, from a teenager, and I was shocked that you were a teenager because you were acting like you were 26 years old, and the way you just ran that trio of girls, I mean, it was amazing. The way you managed the stage. You got show business right from the get-go. That's what impressed me, and that's what sold Mad Mike. That's the reason I was able to sign you to the label, and that's why you were able to put out music so quickly. I was not surprised to see that instant success. I just said, I hope this doesn't go to her head, and, you know, we grow in our 20s. I mean, you know, it's a rite of passage, but you've come so far, and I'm so proud to have been a little part of that. And I mean, mid-20s, it's only going to be, God, you've only got 75, 85, 95 more years to do with this, so buckle up. It's going to be a great ride.
It's been a long, strange trip so far, but it's been worth every mile.
Megan Pennington, everybody, thank you so much for doing this. Be careful on the road. God bless. And I will see you really soon. I mean, August 14th is going to be here before we know it.
I know. Can't wait.
Rock out tonight.
We'll be in contact.
Absolutely. Megan Pennington, go check her out. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
The Ray Powers Hour.